This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what's making headlines in Armenia today. Entrepreneur, philanthropist, and former Nagorno-Karabakh State Minister Ruben Vardanyan, who has been under illegal arrest in Baku for more than a year, said yesterday that Azerbaijani investigators falsified protocols and recordings of his interrogations and pressured him, his lawyer, and his translator to sign documents retroactively. He stated this in an open letter he dictated during a phone call from prison that was published on his social media accounts. According to Azerbaijani media, a preliminary hearing on the case of Vardanyan and former Nagorno-Karabakh President Ararik Harutyunyan is being held today, and it will be decided whether the trial will be held in an open or closed session. Both face life imprisonment. The Vardanyan family international legal advisor, Jared Genzer, said the charges were fabricated and politically motivated, and last year reported that his client had been tortured. In response to a CivilNet inquiry, the Armenian Foreign Ministry reported that it maintains contacts with a number of international organizations on the issue of releasing Armenian prisoners of war and civilians illegally held in Azerbaijan. The need to fully resolve the issue of detention was also mentioned in the recent public statement by the Prime Minister of Armenia as part of the vision for establishing long-term stability and peace in the region, the Foreign Ministry said in a statement. Over 24 Armenian human rights NGOs and individual defenders issued a joint appeal today to foreign ambassadors in Azerbaijan, the United Nations, and international organizations, urging them to independently monitor the upcoming trials of Armenian detainees. Former Armenian Foreign Minister Vardanyan said, "This trial is not an isolated incident. It is the culmination of Azerbaijan's deliberate campaign of ethnic cleansing. Yet Azerbaijan does not act in a vacuum. Its aggression is enabled by the deafening silence of the international community. The major powers have been shamefully passive. Statements of concern are no substitute for meaningful action." Vardanyan was arrested in the wake of the September 2023 attack on Nagorno-Karabakh. Azerbaijan acknowledges holding 23 ethnic Armenian prisoners, including 8 former senior Nagorno-Karabakh officials. However, senior Armenian officials and Armenian human rights lawyers say there is evidence dozens more Armenians are also held there. The Armenian and Azerbaijani border delimitation commissions held their 11th meeting yesterday, where they agreed to continue delimiting the border between the countries, starting from the northernmost point by Georgia and proceeding southward to Iran. The current delimitation process is governed by a joint regulation signed by Yerevan and Baku last August, which was subsequently ratified by both countries' presidents in October. The regulation covered procedural matters, including the organization of delimitation work, document adoption, and border crossing protocol descriptions. The Armenia-Azerbaijan border has remained largely undelimited since the breakup of the Soviet Union until last year, when a small section separating Armenia's Tavus region from Azerbaijan's Gazakh district was outlined. This resulted in Armenia handing over 4 abandoned Azerbaijani villages it had controlled since the early 1990s, while months later Baku withdrew from a position on the Armenian side of the border near Berkaber, based on Soviet-era maps. This sparked nationwide demonstrations in Armenia led by Bagrat Galstanyan, an archbishop who initially demanded the delimitation talks be stopped, framing them as unilateral concessions from Yerevan to Baku. He later pivoted into demanding Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan resign, along with his entire cabinet. Those protests have since ended. Earlier this month, Azerbaijan's President Ilham Aliyev described the handover as forced concessions he extracted from Armenia. What does a literary British bear and Armenia have in common? That's what the British Embassy in Yerevan set out to show Wednesday night, with a special event and movie premiere featuring none other than Paddington Bear. The evening aimed at increasing people-to-people contacts between Armenia and the UK, and to encourage Armenians to work and study there. You can read about the premiere at the link in the description. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 16. That's the percentage increase of firearm-related crimes registered by the Armenian police last year, from 94 to 109 incidents, according to police data. Armenia's Interior Minister Arpine Sarkisyan said, however, that this is a tiny percentage of crime statistics, and total criminal offenses fell by 1% in 2024, after years of steady growth. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.